Uruguay is a country of rolling hills and farm fields, and there are just these beautiful vistas. Bree says at one point they're expansive, but at the same time, there's something about them that just feels secure too. That they she feels safe, but at the same time, all those rolling hills kind of let your thoughts go interesting places. You feel many different things when you see the vista, and it's on the water. Uruguay has beautiful beaches. Darwin spent 10 weeks here when he was going around the coast of South America. There's it's there are only 3.5 million people, but there are a lot of cows, a lot of sheep, and there's a real sense of tranquility when you go along these rural roads. Often, when you are driving, a gaucho on his horse will ride alongside you, and it's it's very relaxing and serene here. You do feel like sometimes for me, the people here don't feel this, but I feel when I'm here that the world is kind of roaring by without me someplace, but I don't ever feel, in any way shortchanged when I'm here. Well, when she goes back there, even though she goes back, it's April, the weather is very similar to October when her daughter died. And so right away, she's feeling a certain anxiety just being back in the weather, the bleakness. It's not a pretty time on college campuses, April, generally in the Northeast, that is. And so it's very hard for her to be back there. And she also has mixed feelings about the campus, which is so beautiful, but her daughter, because they weren't close, her daughter could be kind of bitchy to her. And she remembers going for parents' weekend, and the daughter, looks at an outfit she's wearing. And she says, "My God, Mom, they said casual." And so she she has a tough time being back there. And for me, I always know the endings of my book. I always know the twist before I start. I know the main character. I know who's going to die. I know the inciting incident, and I know the end, and everything else, I'm just kind of on the journey finding it. So even though I knew the end, it was scary to be in Bree's shoes as she takes the layers down and peels them away. And I felt anxiety on her part. I really related to this character a lot and thought about her every night as I was falling asleep, and just what she was going through, because as she's finding out about the killer, she's also finding out about this daughter she struggled to know so well. I think you do. And some of the early reviews and blurbs have talked about just how much it's heartbreaking to be in Bree's shoes. And I think any mother who loses a child, I mean, I just know from friends that it's happened to, you spend your whole life just traumatized, even though you might get somewhat better. There's a great line I read of an Eastern European author whose mother died before the Holocaust, but he was part of the Holocaust, a victim of it, and escaped eventually. But he said, grief is the is like the wound your body eventually, the lung you breathe through eventually. And so it's going to be really hard for Bree. And I tapped into just not anything specific about my kids, because that I just would feel like, oh, that's terribly bad luck. But I tapped into sort of the anxiety you feel as a parent. There was one time when we have a home in Pennsylvania there's a pond and some woods. And one night we were late in the afternoon, we were getting a bad snowstorm. And I usually would make a little snack for my kids around 4 o'clock, and we would have spent a good part of the day, maybe Saturday, Sunday, reading and doing stuff. But one day I just wasn't feeling very well. So I said I was going to take a little nap. When I came downstairs, it had started to snow really badly. I said to my daughter, "Oh, where's Hunter, my son?" She goes, "I don't know." And, I went in all through the house. He wasn't there. And then I asked my husband, and he didn't know. And then I go outside and already there's enough snow. You could see your footprints in it. And I head down to the pond and the dog is missing too. And there was something my son had been playing with by the edge of the pond. And oh my God, we spent the next 4 hours searching through the woods for him. He had followed the dog into the woods and then because of the snow, gotten confused. And basically he was just on foot for the next hours. And oh my God, we found a bunch of local guys to help us search. And it turned out to be a huge Eagles game that day. I think it might have been the playoffs. But we searched and eventually he found his way to the house of some friends of ours that he vaguely recognized. And one of their mothers was there. And he only knew our number in the city. And he then knew some friends of ours that she was able to look up their number in the days when there were phone books. And I've often tap into that terror, Jake, just to remind me of not just having kids, but sometimes when I need another kind of terror, I tap into the terror. The freaking dog came back about a half an hour later, and I think the dog got confused too. So I didn't hold it against him. The dog was still allowed to sleep on the bed that night, even though I snarled at it a couple of times.
Did Hunter get in trouble?
No, because it was totally understandable. I think that, the snow came so fast and he just walked in a little bit to kind of chase the dog. And, snow, the landscape changes immediately. I'm not sure why, but even though I write, in addition to my mystery series, I've written 12 psychological thrillers. I I also want them always to be a whodunit. I just love the idea of a whodunit. And I like it when people say to me, certainly, gosh, I didn't see it coming, but I want it to be fair. One thing I never loved about the great P.D. James, I loved her writing, I loved her characters, but often the killer would turn out to be someone that you could never have guessed because there was information that emerged towards the end that it was sometimes startling. Like it turns out he's the son of this person. And I just felt for people who want to be able to be the detective as they read, it isn't really fair. And so I always feel I want to be fair. And if people tell me they guessed it, I don't care because I also know readers don't mind if they guess it. They want to be along for the journey. If they guess it, fun. If they don't guess it, fun too. And so readers I find, are happy either way. And that's what I'm trying to do is give them enough tools to guess, but hope they don't. I was really attached to Bree's story and even to her ex-husband, Logan. And I I really felt for them what they'd gone through. But I am so relieved when I'm done with the book and not just handing it in, but once you get notes back and you do what your editor asks, and then you send it back in, and then they send it back saying everything's great, but just if you could tweak these couple parts. I'm so exhausted by that point that I'm sort of ashamed to say I'm a little bit happy to be done with them. But with this book, I've sometimes gone back since I got the galley or the bound galley and read little parts of it to remind me of Bree because I really liked her. And she can be a little tough on Logan. He betrayed her, and so she lost both her marriage and her child within a year. And so she doesn't have a lot of patience for the guy. And so she can be kind of impatient with him and his new girlfriend in a kind of bitchy way. And so she's not perfect, but I like her.